Good Monday morning. Here's Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update. And today we'll start with a couple of stocks, and we will start with Nvidia that tested 102 support Friday. I think it will break lower in the coming days. We have RSI below 40 threshold and a test of this gap area, and possibly also the previous spike down here around $90 is likely to be tested. This area possibly down to around the 200 moving average that will give some support. We are in a downtrend there, and we are on the most of the semiconductors. Tesla also got rejected Friday massively, actually. Very strong rejection here at this gap area, little gap area here, 234.25, and massive sell-off. And I think we could see a test of 192.87 fairly shortly. So that keep an eye on that. It needs to close above 234 and 25, and that of course builds into the indices. Here is S&P 500 that closed this gap massively, sell off. Excuse me. 5,455 below that. Next is 5,375. We are bouncing a little bit this morning, just to below the this now resistance area here. I don't think we'll get back up there. What will be key here next couple of days is that RSI is closing below 40 or be rejected. I think the latter in a couple of days, possibly. Nasdaq 100 on the other hand, its RSI actually did close below 40 threshold. Now it is in a negative sentiment, and the index itself below 18,654. I think we'll see a move down to 18,000 sometime this week. Could be today, could be tomorrow. We are bouncing a little bit, about 1.2% just pre-market. Eurostoxx 50 also massive sell-off, down to the 50% of this strong uptrend here. We need to adjust that one little bit. So down to 50%, bouncing a little bit this morning, but we are in a downtrend. We had the RSI back below the 40 threshold, meaning we are now in a negative sentiment. If it takes out Friday's lows, I think we'll see a push below 4,700, possibly lower. But in this region here, we are below the cloud. We are below all moving averages. Most of them are declining, apart from the 200 moving average that is still slightly rising. But we are in a bearish mood. Of course, there will be some bullish corrections on the DAX index, still holding up above the 18,236. 183, this little gap area here that will be key. You can also see that is the 38.2 retracement level, and it is really vital for DAX to hold on above that level, and then we can bounce a little bit, which we also do today, but it needs to close above 18,748 to go back into a bullish trend. The RSI is still in a positive sentiment, so there's something to cling your hopes onto. On the other hand, we have the Amsterdam index 873, could be tested here in a day or two. 40 threshold has been taken out, closed below, so we are in negative sentiment, and it really needs to get back above 907 for any meaningful upside potential. On the CAC 40, close below 7,370 Friday, but now we are trading just above. It could be key here for the next couple of days trading. Where will we close today? Will we move back below, or can we just crawl a little bit higher? But there's strong overhead resistance. We have the 55 moving average coming down, and we have the 7,464. You can see it has kind of been a pivot for quite some time. Even if it does close back above this level, I think we are in a bearish mode, or we are in a bearish mode. We have negative sentiment on the RSI. We can also see 100 moving average coming down here, crossing below the 200. That is slightly rising, but I think it won't be broken anytime soon. I think we'll push lower in the coming days and weeks. Swiss market also that has actually been fairly strong compared to other markets previously. And you can see that Friday it closed not only below 11,998, it also closed below 11,928. Now we are back above testing this now resistance, and that will be key. Will it close back above or not? and if it does close back above 12,000, well, we could see a bounce back towards this area just below 12,200, around that level. Euro dollar got rejected just a few cents below the 786 retracement of this sell-off here, and then we had a bounce and then sell-off, and now we could actually see it testing the 110.25 spike down here from about a week ago. It is not unlikely it will test it. The key question, will it hold? If it takes it out, well, then I think we'll see a push down to 110, maybe 109.50 in this area. However, we also have the 61.8 retracement, and the 61.8 retracement is a normal correction after a strong move. However, we are still in an overall bullish trend on the medium term scenario. On Euro sterling, still holding on above 84. That is the key level to look out for. We could see a bounce a little bit higher here the next couple of days. Also thinking about that cable sterling dollar has had a little bit of a setback. We're going to look at that in a minute. But it seems like we could bounce towards the 55 moving average, maybe up to 84.75. But I mean, ideally we should see a correction up to the 38.2 retracement here at 84.85, but let's see if we can get that. But 84 is really key support to watch out for. Cable, as we talked about, also spiked higher, couldn't get above the previous peak, and now it is a little bit of a selling pressure. 130 and 35, the 38.2 retracement could be tested here next couple of days. There is some strong support around that level. We also have the 21 moving average coming up, but again, as I mentioned, 61.8 retracement down to that is not unlikely if we're looking forward maybe a week or so. If it takes out the spike up here from Friday at 132.39, well, then I think uptrend will resume towards higher levels. And if we are looking at the weekly chart just very quickly, we can see that first of all, here on the daily chart, we have RSI still being in a positive sentiment, no divergence, and we are in a bullish trend also on the weekly chart. So it is merely just a correction that could be a little bit big. Dollar yen bounced off. You see previous spike down there at 141.67. We were almost down there, just about 10 pips from it, and bouncing a little bit. So now we actually do have divergence because we had a lower close here, then we had a lower close over here. So lower close, but RSI did hold on. And so we have a divergence situation, meaning that we could see a bit of a bounce here the next few days. However, we are in a downtrend also on the weekly chart, so that will spell some trouble on the medium term for dollar yen. You can see down 140 and 25, possibly 137 at 2025 on the medium term. It will take a little bit longer than one would expect, because I think we will see a bit of a bounce here because of the divergence. But if it does break below the rising trend line there, and we take out the lows from Friday, do expect a push lower towards the 100. And we have the euro yen 157.29. tested this little spike down here, but not the one here. We are in a downtrend, but we are holding on a little bit. I think we could still drop lower, but I think we'll see a little bit of a bounce here, but we are in a downtrend, and now we're also building some divergence. But so if it takes out 157.25, well, expect a sell-off down to at least 156.40. 155 could be in the cards. Also yen bouncing a little bit around the 50% here, but there is a downside potential to a 93.65. I think it will be tested. We also have the 61.8 retracement here, so we should see a test of that, and we are in a downtrend after breaking the 97.25 support there. I think we will see that being tested, and then we could see a nice bounce from there. Negative sentiment on the RSI, but could be building some divergence, but let's see when we get to that. Still, I think we'll see push lower. Sterling yen after Friday really taking out the support here at 188.20, and we are now also has resumed downtrend, and I think we could see it pushing lower towards 185, 183, 20, 25 here in the coming days, a week or so. If it does move back above 189.50, then expect a push up to 192.5, but it is struggling a little bit. We are in a downtrend with negative sentiment. Aussie dollar broke its 67 key support, and I think we could test the 66.40-45, where we have the 100 moving average coming up. It will be a little bit of struggle to push it down there, but I think it will happen, and we're still in a positive sentiment on the RSI. So it maybe is merely just a correction. However, if Aussie dollar pushes below and closes below 66.40 and RSI close below 40, well, then expect a sell-off down to 66 and 65.75, around that level. On the dollar Canada, strong bounce Friday, and we are still above the 134.40, and that is key support for dollar Canada, and the key resistance 135.90 almost touched this Friday, and that will be key. If it breaks above, then expect a move up to the 38.2 retracement and on 36.40 level. On the Swiss pairs here, Euro Swiss slightly or you can say slowly ticking lower, bouncing a little bit this morning, but we are in a downtrend. We could see a push towards 93 and 92.90 in this area here around the 786 retracement, and it needs to get back above 94.50 to resume uptrend or turn around this downtrend, what it is actually. Dollar Swiss bouncing from the 84, just a spike below, and I think we will see a little bit of a bounce here the next couple of days. And the key will be, can we actually get back above 85.40? I always add a little bit of extra pips to make sure. So 85.40, if it can get back above that, well, then we could see a higher push. But what we could see here, it could actually, first of all, keep an eye on the Fibonacci levels. It actually bounced 38.2, but this looks like a double bottom pattern. So if it does break above 85.40, well, a push up to the 86.15 levels as a minimum. Moving on to, and finally, when we're talking about FX, we have the dollar index, and also, is this a double bottom? Well, if it is, then it will be confirmed if it closes above 101.88 with a potential up to 102.5, 102.70. If it takes out the low here at 100.40, well, then expect to move down well below 100. Looking at commodities and gold, well, it was rejected just a few cents below the previous all-time high at 25.32, just below there. So we could be called range bound, and that is the range it needs to break out of: 25.32, 24.70. Bearish breakout, test of the lower rising trend line there, 55 moving average, possibly spiking down to the 61.8 retracement. Silver seems to have found a bottom here, and that's why I have drawn this trend line here, or horizontal trend line, 27.70, and let's just get rid of these, some of them, and you can see how I work with this. This is an educational session. It is not any sort of advice, but here you can see dipping below the 61.8 retracement several times, actually 4 times, and down to 27.70. If it takes out that, expect a sell-off down to 27, possibly all the way down to these lows here. If it takes out 29.18, 29.20, then we are looking for levels higher than $30. On the copper, well, 404.25 seems to be the key, just below the 61.8 retracement and 786 retracement, quite interestingly. But we are above the upper falling trend line here. The RSI is still negative sentiment, never closed back above 60. So that will be key. Will it break below 40 again, or can it actually move higher? And if it pushes above 432, then expect to push higher. But it is under pressure. You can also see 55 coming down here. So it is actually quite heavy at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised in the coming days to see a push a little bit lower to test the 400 level. So it's a little bit, I would stay on the sideline a little bit here for on copper, to be honest. Moving on to oil, Brent and crude. Here's Brent crude and WTI, and here's WTI. You can see it actually tested the support here. Here's the weekly chart. We talked about so much about this triangle breakout, 67.71, bouncing a little bit, as we can see here also on the daily chart. I think we will push lower if it takes out the lows from Friday just below 67.50. Well, then expect to push down to 64.62 area, possibly even lower, but that is the key support. Also on Brent, excuse me, on Brent we can see it also took out its the 71.90 level, and we are very close to 69.90, and I think it will be tested here in a few days. But I do expect a little bit, I wouldn't be so afraid to see that, well, we will see a little bit of a bounce, but we are in a bearish trend, short term and medium term. And finally, let's have a look at the US 10-year Treasury that we always round off with, but don't despair. There will be a lot of changes coming where I will have more separated asset classes, but I'm working on it. So we had Friday, it spiked low to test the just taking out the lows over there, but it actually reached the 363 just below that, or just around that 364, bouncing, and I think it will bounce here the next couple of days and possibly up to the 380, maybe testing the upper falling trend line there, but we are in a downtrend on the US 10-year yields. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and happy trading.